Councillor Matterface.
Just looking at the one that I sit on, well, one of the two I sit on, TDC Artifacts, etc. The subgroup met on the 4th of February 2015, not 14. We have met more recently than February of last year.
Councillor King, did you want to come back on the QEPM or the artefacts one as well? Possibly you'd like to make a comment on?
Well, as you say, the next item is the report will be your report on what you get reported back to us, to full council. Yeah? Yeah. Well, I could probably just, if I may, just comment on what's in our agenda of item 7 under the TDC artifacts. I think my views have been known about the sluggishness of it. But looking at the comments here, I mean, these comments really do not reflect in any way. Well, the minutes I've got two sets of minutes here, strangely enough, for the same meeting, and one's got a paragraph left out of it, or put in it, whichever way it is. I don't know which one's before or the after. But the important paragraph refers to £247,000 worth of coastal communities funding.
Sorry, it's just a technical question. As chairman, haven't you signed off the minutes, and therefore you know which of the minutes is agreed, or you haven't actually? Because it seems to me a little strange if the meeting was on the 4th of February that the minutes haven't been signed off yet.
That's why I was surprised when I looked through my papers that I've got two very similar sets of minutes, but one has got an additional paragraph in it. And it is an important paragraph because it was the one from the last meeting where Louise Askew actually advised we had 247,000 from the Coastal Communities Fund, of which I immediately asked for the £25,000 if we could get it for the archivist.
Could you clarify?
What Councillor King would have received initially were the draft minutes, and it might have happened that the officers took long to respond, and you would have received the original, version of the draft minutes before they had been amended by the officers who were present at the meeting. And what was finally published was what officers had amended, which you would have also looked at.
Well, I mean, I'm quite sure that I think Councillor Matterface was on that committee. I'm not sure, I can't remember who else was on it with us tonight. Nick Tomlinson, but it was in the morning. I remember that, and we. That was the last meeting I recall that we had, and there was a clear indication that the council had been successful in getting £247,000 in this community's grant. And obviously I was trying to argue it as coastal communities, etc. Nothing's come back about that at all. But I think maybe I could just elaborate more on that on agenda item 8.
Yes, okay.
John, I just wanted to clarify for the purposes of Councillor King's query. I'm sure Democratic Services can sort out which are the minutes that were actually published, so that we know exactly which ones are the right ones for purposes of Councillor King knowing where he stands.
Thank you, Councillor Matterface.
Thank you, Chair. What this, I'm looking at 7.1, 7.2, page 72. What that doesn't reflect in any way is the fact that we did query from the officer why she had produced a report that we hadn't actually asked for. And as Councillor King will agree, we had quite a discussion about who had taken the decision that she go and do something that we had not requested. I'm sure that must have been reflected in the minutes somewhere. I'd like to actually raise that point. We're still waiting, we've had nothing back. And as it says 7.2, we were hoping to hear back before the end, but unfortunately it doesn't look like we're going to get that report.
Just to kind of round off the point that you raised there, which is an important one about the announcement of the funding and whether that funding has in any way been allocated towards this, because I seem to recall, I mean, the announcement of the funding was a general one, but I can't personally recall that any of that funding was specifically allocated to the artefacts.
Come back. Yeah, because they were looking for a heritage lottery fund to pay for what we had wanted was money to pay for a professional archivist to come in to speed up the process by which the artefacts are catalogued. At the rate they're going, that will take them 15 years to complete it. But what was actually submitted to the Heritage Lottery Fund, it was a huge fund application for actually general structure, maintenance, roofing, etc., which we hadn't agreed. We said that was way out with our remit because we were actually only required to look at the way the artefacts had been looked at. So it was a little bit difficult because the task and finish group had been taken away from what it was meant to be, and we had a little bit of discussion on the day. It was a Wednesday morning, as Councillor King said.
So I'll bring you in a second, but can I, because this is getting quite interesting now. So are you saying that the bid to the Heritage Lottery came out of the artefacts subgroup? It was a separate bid that you just thought you could hang an archivist into? No?
We hadn't asked for that at all, and what actually came back was an application had gone to the HLF for a big project